Hello everyone, and welcome to the Week 4 Go to Training. I'm John Morton. I'm one of the instructors for Psychology of Play, and I'm going to be talking to you today for our Go to Training. So I hope everyone's excited. Week 4, pretty exciting. You made it. How's everyone been doing so far in the class? Whoop whoop. Yeah, Justin Marshall, excited. Hi, William. Hi to everybody who's in my section. If you've been working with me this month, it's been great. I've enjoyed having everybody in class. Yeah, so I hope everyone's been having a pretty good time. I really enjoy teaching this class. I think it's a lot of fun. I want to make sure that everyone can hear me and can see my screen. I checked earlier, but I just wanted to double check. You should see the screen. It should say "Welcome back, Career Research, Balancing Work and Play." I'm going to guess that everyone is on board and can see that. If not, give me a shout. Let me know. Looks good. Okay, thanks, Caleb. We're going to be talking a little bit about career research, balancing your work and play, as well as in the second half, we're going to be talking about mindfulness and some other techniques we can use to help us be successful in our career, with our art forms, all sorts of ways. So we start off with the real question is, what are your core values? And I realize there's a lot of people. If you want to, I'm definitely open to, if you want to raise their hands and talk about this. That's great. I would love that. I can just if you raise your hand in the thing, I can unmute you and you can answer, or you can feel free to jump in the chat box. And I'll do my best to keep up with reading the chat box, but bear with me because I'm presenting and trying to read the chat box, so I've got my hands full. But what are some core values? What are the things that drive everyone? What are the things that made you say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to pursue my career at Full Sail. I really want to take this, whatever my art form is, and I want to take it from maybe from a hobby to something." More in depth, and then from there, what's the thing that says, "Hey, this is the thing that keeps me going every day"? What are some core values? Passion and desire. Yeah, absolutely. And again, feel free, if you want, raise your hand. I can call on you, or just jump in the chat box. You can type in anyone. Core values. Everyone has Caleb says money. Okay, yeah. If you want financial security, maybe you want to be secure in your person and property. I don't. There's nothing wrong. I appreciate your honesty. Yeah, if you're driven by money, that can definitely be something. I'll kind of move forward to better your life. Yeah, absolutely. It's something to think about. We're going to touch back on it, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there for everyone and say, hey, think about, kind of what's driving you, what at your core is important to you. We're going to talk about, the why. I know you've all have hopefully done the reading, seen some of the videos. We're going to go back to them. I think there's some really interesting stuff when we start with the why, as Simon Sinek puts it. Ashley wants to inspire people. I think that's amazing. Again, moving on for what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be exploring the why, examining companies that are stepping outside of the traditional work environment and incorporating play, looking at when we're most efficient, which is what's called peak performance times, which is different for everyone, but it's something that I think is a lot of fun. It's a topic that's close to my heart, because working at peak performance for me is very important. I think for everyone, figuring out what that looks like is also important. We've all been working on our schedules this month. Everyone has their work, play, fit, push model. And I want to kind of go over that with you and see what you thought, what that's been like for you, what parts of that you want to bring into the future. That's what we're going to be talking about. So the golden circle, why, how, and what. I've taken a small snippet of this video, which is in the reading, but I want us to all watch it together as a group right now. If you go into the materials section, you can go at the very bottom. There's one that just says why, and let's all watch it together. We're going to come back, but right, get kind of be prepared to chat about this when we come back. Just take the time and really let it all sink in. But I'll be back in a few minutes as soon as the video's over. Alrighty, so coming back from that, there's a longer, more extended video of that in your week 4 readings. But I think it's really important to take a step back and say, what is your why? Why are you doing whatever it is that you're doing? So think about those things. Think about that when you move forward in your careers, when you move forward in your education. I've found that knowing what gets me up and out of bed every day is pretty important. What is everyone kind of thoughts on that? What's getting you out of bed? What's your why? What do you want to do? You want to do educational games for kids? That's amazing, William. I think that looking at new educational tools for children and for adults as well. Making a game that's fun and educational is incredibly challenging, and hats off to you for that. That's really important. I think being able to I don't know what the age range is in here, but I remember playing playing a lot of Oregon Trail as a kid. It was a lot of fun. It was cool because it was educational and it was a game. It was an incredibly hard game. I feel like I could never get to Oregon to save our lives. Always dying of dysentery. I'm sorry, Jacob. You hit it right on the head. You said dysentery right as I was saying it. It's but right, it's crazy because we all, everyone who's kind of within this certain age range has a pretty like strong memory of that. And yeah. You want to prove that your disability can't stop you from meeting your goals in life. That's amazing. Um, Jay had 19 and you know of it. Yeah, it's funny. I think it's one of those things that culturally is kind of everyone has heard about Oregon Trail. Either you played it or you've heard about it. They've remade it, and it's out now. You can get it on different. I think they've kind of remade it throughout. But right, you know, like we were saying earlier, making a game that's educational, doing something fun and different, doing something that it's like those people start with why. They say, you know what, like our why is making education fun, which is super innovative and a lot of fun. People know when we're not genuine. They know when we're not being authentic. So when we're marketing to people, we're saying, here's what we're doing and here's why you should like it. People know. I actually recently had a conversation with somebody at a game development conference, and they were making a game, and it was a mobile game, and they said, oh, here, pick up my tablet, play this game, and there's these zombies, and you tap the zombies and it shoots them, and it felt it felt put on, and I said something to them. I was like, oh, this is they're like, well, we're really trying to get on the zombie thing, and I thought to myself, wow, yeah, it was very forced. I said, you can't start with what you can't start with, well, I want to get on something popular, and then expect people to respond a certain way. And as I was going through the game, I said, the guy said, oh, you just tap them, and I'm saying, and you didn't have to tap them in the head, and that part really bothered me. And maybe I'm nitpicky, but you have to, like, if you're gonna get in on something, you at least have to know some background in zombie lore. And yeah, the one rule, right? You have to destroy the brains. And he said, "Oh, I didn't get that." And I just kind of thought, I'm like, well, what what are you doing? If are you just trying to make money at this? And I don't think that that's very genuine and very authentic. I tried not to, I was disappointed. I was not, interested in it. And I wouldn't go play the game is what it really came down to. But right, people know when you're genuine, they know when you're authentic, and it really shines through. So I'd encourage everyone to, like, whatever it is, whatever that thing is for you, that is your why, take a stand for it. Elizabeth says, I want to start a freelance writing company for people right outside the box. I think that's amazing. There's yeah, Justin rule 2. Yeah, it's funny actually. Zombieland was on in our break room today, so I saw some of that. But right, finding out, what it is, when we're genuine and we're authentic and we're really, we're those things. We're genuine, authentic. It shines through. People know what, they know that we're genuinely interested in that. Even if it's not interesting to other people, that's for me is one of my favorite things. I have this hobby. I collect rare fruit trees, which is super interesting to me. I love it. Like, I spend all my free time, like when I'm not taking care of my kids, like I spend it, pursuing this, taking care of my trees. I love that. It does something for me. Right, Justin. If you're more passionate about something, no matter what, find a way to shine through in whatever you're doing. Exactly. When I get to talk about trees, and when people, will ask me questions, I get really excited, and people, it's like my wife is like, slow down a little bit, because I get a little too excited about it. But people know that, when you really love something and you're passionate about it, it shines through. So, Tiffany says, my why is love for others. That's amazing. You want to make therapeutic video games for people with disabilities. I believe everyone should play video games. I'm with you 100%. I think that's amazing. And that's really good to hear. It really, it warms my heart knowing that there's people who, who are doing these things. It's super important to do that. William, collect the best games like Skyrim, GTA 5, Dead Space. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, I've kind of gone off on an aside with this, but I really appreciate kind of what everybody's been saying. You're all, you're all right on track. So that's fantastic. So right, we saw Simon Sinek. He talked about the starting with why it's important to do. People know. People see through it when you just say, "Hey, I want money," which is genuine, authentic. You can genuinely just want money, but people, they want to know. They want to know that you're really about helping them, doing something new, innovative, and different. You want to make patches that actually fix games that will not break it. That's a great plan. Yeah, Jonah, that's a awesome plan. I hope that you're successful in that. So you can't fake personality, passion, or purpose. I couldn't agree more. When I was talking about that zombie game I came across, that's really kind of the thing that I said to this guy. I said, these people who are going to buy your game are going to see right through this. They're going to say, hey, this guy's just trying to get on this craze, and I don't think you're very genuine. You don't seem very passionate or like this is a purpose driven thing. Not doing it for the money. Feel like money hampers creativity. Yeah, I know. I know we talked about that. I want to say in week 2, we talk about financial incentives and how that affects creativity. It's definitely it's a weird balance to be in where it's people need money to live. It's unfortunately we're not in a great everyone shares and loves each other and is kind and helpful and everyone's needs are met society. So we have to have money and a system. And that's kind of one of those things. But right, ideally, in an ideal creative setting, people aren't concerned about money. The financial aspect is kind of taken out of the equation, and when it is, people are really kind of free to be creative on a whole new level. So knowing our core leads us to our careers. Again, back to core values. I'm going to scroll down to the list because I feel like sometimes it's a little bit easier for everyone to go based off of the list. When you see some of the core values and you think about what maybe some of your core values are, but are any of these really ringing to people? Or are these the things that, hit you that say, oh, this is what's really important to me? And I think it can be different for everybody, and you can have a multitude of them. I think for me, I think about what's really important. Happiness is very important. Justice is important to me. I like recognition. I wish I was a little bit more humble. I didn't need to be recognized, but sometimes I'm like, I really like recognition. I don't always, I don't need to have a bunch of, awards and this and that, but it's nice every now and then to get recognized for the work that you do. It really is. So what are some of these things that are striking each of you? What are some of the core values that you say, hey, I really like, I like this, or I'm after this? Wealth. Yeah, okay, absolutely. Success. Definitely. You don't see loyalty. But yeah, loyalty is absolutely a core value. Some companies start off good, but sell out due to lack of loyalty. Absolutely. Joy and friendship, happiness, truth, joy, justice. Yeah. Caleb says happiness. Absolutely. I think that there's definitely something to be said. It can resonate to all the values, but happiness and family are most important to you. Yeah. It's interesting, and I think everyone kind of has there's some balance of their core values. And some people are really just driven by one main one, or a multitude. And there's no right or wrong answer. I look at it, I know that wealth is a driving factor for a lot of people. And what's interesting is that, wealth is, when you don't have it, it obviously is more of a driving factor than when you have a lot of it. I think that most people, you get um, all great values, though, and important for right reasons. Yeah, the everything has its own reason. Everything has its own. It's important at the time. It's important for where each person is in life. I know that for me, it's like happiness and family and togetherness are really important. Um, but right, at a certain point, I'm like, oh, wealth wouldn't be bad either. I love to get a little bit more more money, or a better place to live, or a fancier car. Um, Power can be a double-edged sword. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Justin, well, I see it as you can work on a game just as much as you want, but if you have good friends who have just as much joy for what you're doing, then you're only going to prosper. Yeah, I think that's a great sentiment. It really is. Doing things for the love of doing them shines through. People get it and they appreciate it. And I think it's really important to focus on those things. Figure out what makes you happy and then go with it. Um, I think authenticity is one of the big ones. It's just like, hey, be who you are, be what you're about. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're honest with people and you're upfront and you say, hey, this is genuinely who I am. I'm this person. Um, I don't have to bill myself as something other than what I am, and which is difficult. I think a lot of times people want to be, they want to be, hey, I'm bigger or more important or this or that. And sometimes it's just you have to say, hey, I'm who I am, and I'm okay with that. And I think that when we have that, when I can be that way, I feel like people are like, oh, I can appreciate that this person is doing their best to be the person that they say they are and the person that they're presenting to the rest of the world. So I think that's very important. Ash says, my family has inspired most of my writings. Without them, I wouldn't have made this far. Yeah, that's awesome. And Justin says, I'm short and fat, and I'm proud of that. Hey, man, that's cool. It's right. At the end of the day, it's just like we are who we are. I feel like the world is really, I hate to poke at the you think about like the the apps and whatnot, and it's just a quick picture. What does this person look like? Do I like them? Do I not like them? And I feel like a lot of times we're trying to put on a show in the world, or you think about like resume writing, and it's like, how does a piece of paper ever really fully represent a person? It's tough. Yeah, it really is. So right, just kind of food for thought. We're not going to come to a solid answer on any of those things, but just kind of things to think about. So there are some companies that are doing things differently to incorporate fun. Um, we're going to watch some videos. We're going to start with our Inside Google. If you all just go into the materials section and click on the Inside Google video, we're going to watch that and then we're going to discuss it. But yeah, let's start with that. All right, so I think everybody is hopefully has seen that and is making their way back in. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. Limited snacks, nap pods. Yeah, they're definitely doing a lot of cool stuff at Google. And they're obviously onto something. I mean, Google is a productive company. They're making a bunch of money. Um, they've put like they said the time into the analytics of it, and figuring out what makes sense. And the thing that's really crazy to me, at least, you look into there's like soccer fields and vegetable gardens, and I don't know if anyone has ever looked out in the Mountain View, California before for real estate, but real estate is wildly expensive out there. I mean, it's those are like $1 million fields. So they've obviously figured out, hey, it's worth the millions of dollars we're putting into a vegetable garden, just in land alone, or a soccer field, things like that. Um, so they've obviously figured out the formula. They figured out that it works well. So yeah, I think kind of the questions that they look at, what are they doing differently? um, Google and Microsoft should combine and get rid of Apple. It would be an interesting teaming up there. um, yeah, but right, what the companies, what they're doing differently, um, they're doing a lot differently, is kind of the or of the OSs. Yeah. um, Giving people, what we talked about earlier in the month, some autonomy. We talked about autonomy, mastery, and purpose. I think I want to say that was during week 2. But those are things that really go a long way, when people get to be themselves. They get to say, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I'm about. Here's what I want to be doing. I'm good at this thing, but I like these freedoms. That's people want to, like they say, bring dogs to work with them. If you want your dog to come to work with you, or you the whole free lunches thing. It's funny because it seems like, oh, that's a lot, but you think about it and it's like, if you keep people on campus, on your work campus, as opposed to leaving, their lunch is probably shorter because they don't have the travel time. They're inevitably going to be eating with people from work, so they're probably going to be talking about work stuff, so they're going to be more productive on their lunch breaks than if they were going off campus doing other things. So there's definitely some interesting parts of it. What's the most exciting, or what would be the most interesting thing about that as a workplace? People, just in general. I saw nap pods and free snacks were big ones. The dog, bring your dog to work. Okay, yeah. I know for me it'd be the garden. Like I said, I like gardening a lot, so I would love to be able to keep a small garden at work. That's fantastic. Seizure alert dog. I can bring her, but he gets so much issues because people don't understand not to touch her. Google would be a sweet job. Yeah, absolutely. It is frustrating when you have a service dog and people want to pet it, but um, there's definitely different things, different rules, and whatnot with those animals. Um, Yeah. So, okay. Moving on. There is another video also in the materials. It just says it's called Pixar. We're gonna watch it and we'll come back and talk about it again. All right, so I think everyone's probably just about coming back from that. Thoughts? Yeah. What's everyone thinking about when they see that? What are the things that stick out to you? Okay, the passion. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they were saying like people are working 70-hour weeks. The entrance. Yeah. Right. Disney had it was interesting though the way that they kind of their interactions. Someone having a speakeasy in their office. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I could see that being fun for them. It seems like being able to have the creativity, yeah, passion, personal office spaces, right? Being able to say, hey, here's my office. It reflects me. It's what I want it to be like. I mean, everyone, you get for me, I think I get my cubicle and I get to make it look the way I want it to look, and that's great. Um, but yeah, okay. So the creativity, the work environment seems to really be a huge thing. And again, like they were saying, the time that people are putting in the office, I mean, if you think about, if you're working, 70 hours a week, that's you're spending more time at work than you are elsewhere at that point, at least during the work week. So I think it's important to be able to say, hey, like what's important for us to have, what's important for people. If you're gonna spend a good amount of your life there working on things, how can we make it the best work environment we can? Justin says, if you can make it a fun place, wouldn't you want to come to work more often? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a huge thing. I know, I have that at work. With seeing my friends at work. It's like, well, after a long weekend, I'm ready to go back and see my friends and see what they're up to and catch up. So, right. Those relationships, those friendships are important for me. Yeah. Wonder how many people they have to say go home for a while. Yeah, I'm sure there's people who they have to tell them to go home sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. Because sure, why if you have all these amenities and you have everything you need, it's understandable that people would want to be at work all the time. Um, so right, I think we've looked at what these companies are doing differently. Justin says put up a hammock. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably people who have nap hammocks in their offices. That wouldn't surprise me. The second question on all that: do they hire employees who potentially wouldn't perform well in a formal setting? It almost seems like a rhetorical question, um, but I think that the takeaway is they hire creatives, so I don't think that the people who are really the people that they're after would not necessarily be the people who perform well in a formal setting. My mom worked for the government for years, probably 25, 30 years. And it's very, right, buttoned up and very formal. And, you go and everything's kind of, pretty dull and utilitarian. And I don't know that I would want that for my workspace. It's just not who I am. That's not what my interests are. And everyone, different strokes for different folks is one of the things I always say. I think it's important to kind of know what's important to you. I think I look at my classes and I say a lot of the students that we work with are non-traditional students, and it won't surprise me to know that a lot of them want to work in non-traditional work environments. It's the regular settings aren't for everyone. Traditional paths are there and they're well established, but so many alternative paths are emerging, and the workplaces are finally catching up with it. It seems like more of them occur in design and technology. So yeah, Justin says it's like trying to make a fish live in a tree. It just doesn't work. Absolutely. So Google They have their philosophies to create the happiest, most productive workplace in the world. They seem to have done that pretty effectively. They're pushing the traditional work boundaries. I would certainly agree with that, with the way that they've set everything up. My job started GoPro in out tree cutting so you can make VR demos of our work. Oh, wow. That's really cool. Jonah, yeah, that's interesting. So your company started making GoPro videos while you're, is it a tree trimming company? Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's awesome. It's interesting. I feel like having point of view experiences is a really interesting and new thing that people haven't traditionally done. I feel like there's it's extreme sports and a couple other things, and but right, the availability of that gives people the opportunity to view something from a whole new experience, seeing what someone's job is like, what they're doing. Ash says the job that I have now, I get to dress up and have fun. I'm dressing up as a mountaineer for our next enrichment program for the schools where I live. That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so that's basically what Google has for us. Zappos is another one. I don't have a video for it, but they have pretty interesting policies in the way that they work. What's really interesting is their at the 90-day review mark. So this is generally when most people, you get a review, and it's kind of the hit or miss. Either you're going to stay with the company or you're going to leave. They offer people $3,000 to leave the company at that point. And basically say, hey, you know what? If you want to leave, we'll give you $3,000, severance, and you can go. And basically, the reason they do that is to say to find out whether or not people are genuinely invested in the company, whether they're for the long run. They want people to have fun, enjoy themselves, but they also want people who are invested in the company. So they make offers to people and say, hey, if it's if a quick short term gain is enough to get you out, feel free to go. And I don't think there's any hard feelings about it, but they're interested in cultivating loyalty with the people that they hire. So every company has their own ideas. They have their big parties, whatnot at Zappos, which is fun. And if it appeals to you, then it might be a great place to look. But right, finding out what each company is doing, what each company is doing different, and figuring out what the best fit is for each of us. I think it's pretty important. Um, they also have their interviewing process where they conduct multiple interviews, one being a technical interview and one being a cultural interview. I think that's also an interesting thing. I don't know if anyone has had. Robert says he'd take the $3,000. Sure, yeah, it's an option. I think being able to fit into the culture of the workplace is very important. You fail the cultural interview. Why do you think that is? I think the culture of companies is really interesting, and I don't think it's not your type of fashion. I don't. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think it's that. I don't think that it's a fashion type of culture. I think they mean, how do people work with each other? How are they getting along? How do you communicate? What are your work habits? It's a shoe company. Yeah, it's a shoe company. Is I mean. I don't know. I don't know that I have a good argument. They do sell shoes. That's accurate. Right. Again, I think a lot of it is how do you work with other people? Are you thinking outside the box? Are you interested in, just coming in, punching a clock, doing the thing, and then leaving? Or do you want to build, grow, and develop within the company? So again, each person is going to have their own thing. They have a waiting list per what Smith says. So sure, and everyone's going to be a little bit different. Each company is looking for something slightly different. Each person who's seeking employment is probably looking for something different. So figuring out what's a good fit for you is really what's important. At the end of the day, it's your careers. The companies are going to be there whether or not you're working there. But right, they want to make sure that you're going to be a good fit and fit in with the culture of the company. In addition to being good at your work. What are employees looking for? That's an interesting question, because I think that we know what the employers want. The employers want, I want you to have these skills and kind of be able to come in, fit in, do our thing. Or I'm sorry, I misspoke there. What are employers looking for out of us, out of the people who are coming in? And what do you guys think? I mean, obviously, there's the bit right there that says innovative companies today don't ask for and don't care about basic skills, grade, SAT scores. Instead, they want to know they use the example of if you can brainstorm all the possible ways to use bubble wrap. Commitment, sure, yeah, absolutely, that's definitely one. I think that this kind of harkens back to innovative minds. Yeah, absolutely. The same thing we talked about earlier in the month of creativity. Yeah, absolutely. Someone who works well with others. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Devotion to their jobs. Sure. I think this touches back on the autonomy, mastery, and purpose that we were talking about. Loyalty team players. Yeah, absolutely. I think those are definitely things. I think places want to know, can we work autonomously? Can we be given, broad directions? Hey, kind of go work on this thing. Can we, without being micromanaged, go and actually come back with a deliverable? That's fine. You're really welcome. So right, can we be autonomous, masterful in the work that we do, and kind of be purpose driven? Obedience, sure. Yeah, I think that the people want you to do. They want you to accomplish the tasks that they've laid out for you. I think any company is going to say, "Hey, we need you to do X, Y, and Z things. Like that's why you're here. That's why we're paying you." Um, but I think they're looking for us to be creative. I know that for me, I'm often when my supervisors will come by and say, "Hey, we have this situation. What is a creative solution to that?" Robert says, "Obey me. I'm I'm the boss overlord type thing." I think that a lot less companies are really kind of putting that vibe out. I think most of them say, "Hey, we want to get the best results out of the people that we're working with." I know for me, that's my experience. My supervisors and my whole kind of chain of command has a pretty. We have a structure. There's a structure to how the reporting structure and how that works, but we all communicate in a pretty even, level, balanced way. Where when we all sit down in meetings, we all our voices equally kind of weighed in. So again, I think they're looking for people who can go out and work and do some stuff on their own. Let's take this. Seems like a good time to take a break. We're going to come back and start talking about eliminating creative blocks, and we're going to go on with the rest of our conversation from there. But I'm going to give everyone about 10 minutes. So I have 2:54 p.m. Let's be back in 10 minutes from now, 3:04 p.m. I will see you all shortly. Hey everybody, and welcome back. Hope everyone had a good break. So we're going to be talking a little bit about how to eliminate creative blocks. I'm sure everyone at some point has had this experience where, going through life, trying to do, whatever your craft is, and you've run into situations. It's inevitable. It happens. Actually, it's horrible. I know, for a lot of people, writer's block. It does. It really seems to happen to everyone. We just kind of the creative juices just stop flowing. It's normal. It's what happens. It's not anything to be alarmed about, but we have to figure out some tools to kind of get that moving along. Does anyone have anything kind of just off the top of their head that they're like, oh, when I have creative block, like here's something that works for me? And feel free again if you want, raise your hand and I'll call you and unmute you if you want to talk. But otherwise, feel free to just jump in the chat box. I'd love to hear people's thoughts on what they've found to be effective in combating creative block. Usually take a break, drink some hot tea. Yeah, that's not a bad one. I think that almost any time when we're working on something regularly and consistently, and we just kind of can't go any further, taking a step back and coming at it with new eyes is pretty helpful. Robert says playing video games, looking at other people's ideas, or watch a great story. Absolutely. Look for inspiration, watch favorite movie. Definitely a good one. Yeah. I think anytime we can take a step back and even sometimes just like sleeping on it is one of those things. We might be working on something and say, oh, this is good, I like it, but let's sleep on it. Let's meditate on it. Yeah. There's all different ways that we can overcome that. Going for a walk. Absolutely. Well, it sounds like those are some good tools. I would definitely encourage everyone to continue to think about the things that work for you, because especially if we're going into creative fields, we're going to come up against these situations. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. We're going to run into creative blocks. So knowing the best way and the most effective way to deal with them is really useful and important. Creating a play space, this goes back to the people at Pixar, but right, having a creative play space, going out and playing, enjoying yourself, taking a few minutes for leisure, which is basically what it sounds like a lot of people are doing. Taking some leisure time is really worthwhile. It's useful. It's helpful. I know a lot of times people might say, "Oh, I've got this thing. I've got to get it done," and that's the story. There is a lot of Disney stuff going on in that picture. Yeah. But right, taking a few minutes to kind of reset, recharge the batteries, come at something with new eyes in a fun way is pretty useful. So this doesn't have to, it says create a play space. You don't have to make a room where you play, but you can kind of create a play space maybe, in your schedule. I know we talked about that with our work play push in the schedule. We have play on there because it's important. It's not just, and we didn't just put it in there to have an extra thing on the schedule. We really think that there's value in playing. So this is an interesting question, and I think it's different for everyone. There's no right or wrong answer, but when is your peak work time? Call this peak performance hours. And maybe you don't know it off the top of your head. Maybe you do. 2 or 3 a.m. Brianna says, yeah, okay. Robert says, I have none. I'm owl. I think you mean night owl. I got that. Zach says, same. Mid-afternoon into the evening. I like to work around 9 or 10. Okay. So everyone, no, maybe not everyone. It sounds like some people have some ideas about when they like to work or when they feel they're the most productive. You work very well early in the morning. Okay. think it's super important. I know for me, when I work the best, um, and it just so happens that it's usually very early in the morning, when I'm very caffeinated. I like to actually come into the office, and I have two 6-month-old boys, so they help me wake up very early. But I like to come in, around 7 a.m. I find that between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., if I'm able to come into the office during those hours, yeah, woot for coffee, absolutely. If I can go, my kids, we're usually up, I don't know, sometime in between 5 and 6. I can wake up, have some coffee, spend a little time with them, come into the office. Usually there's no one there at 7 a.m. Most people don't come in until around 9. So between 7 and 9, there is no one there. So basically, there are no distractions. And I can get a lot of work done during those hours. Anyone who's in who's in my sections, has probably seen, most of my responses and whatnot are very early in the morning. I also work in the evenings as well. Kind of when I'm winding down for the night, I like to go on, check my email, maybe do some grading if I have that as something I need to do. But knowing when you're most effective is important. Middle of the day, is normally there's a lot of meetings scheduled. There's a lot of distractions going on in the office. I find for me that I am not, I'm not the model of productivity in the middle of the day, and which is fine. But I just have to know, okay, well, if you're not getting as much done, you're not as efficient in grading or in responding to emails at this time of day. When are you, efficient at that? And I have to capitalize on that time. So for me, that's early in the morning or in the evening. Yeah, I can really. Other things are going on. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to deal with that. I wish I could say, I'm great at just focusing and doing that, but sometimes no. There's other people. They're walking around. There's stuff happening. So yeah, I'm distractible. It's definitely it's not my favorite thing about myself, but yeah, I get distracted easily. So um, there we go. Peak performance, time, and flow. I think that, right. So having an understanding of when your peak performance is, and then being able to get into flow states with your work. It's very important. I know that, if I'm really in a groove, I can get through, a lot of my work in, I won't say a short amount of time, but I can do it a lot more effectively than if it's the middle of the day and it's start and stop. And, I stand up, sit down, go get a drink, go to the bathroom, kind of just like moving all around, and I don't get, a lot of work done. So for me, early morning, getting my rhythm, getting my routine, I feel like I can get a lot more done. So I'd encourage everyone to really focus. And again, we're limited because sometimes we might have work or we might have another obligation during our peak performance times. But knowing when they are and hopefully being able to capitalize on that is something that everyone will be able to take away from this. Schedules and balance. How did everyone feel about their schedules this month? How was it to make a schedule every week? What did you think about it? What did you expect out of it? Did anyone have any surprising results? Loved it. Kept me organized. Helpful. Better the more you did it. You feel like it helped. Best part so far? Awesome. Less stress? Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I think that there's really something nice about having a schedule and knowing what to expect. Awesome. It helped a lot. It was hard for you to do your work due to the weather. You're more active now. You'll keep up with it after class. Helped you manage your time and stay organized. Yeah, I think that there's definitely something to be said about having a schedule. My wife and I keep, slightly offset schedules, so we can both work and take care of our kids and do stuff. And we keep a shared calendar, and it's a old school paper calendar. and it's on our refrigerator, and we have to say, here are the days I'm working, here are the days that I'm flexible with my schedule, here are the days I'm not flexible with my schedule, and make sure that, we kind of have everything covered. And it's funny, sometimes we'll have conversations where she'll say, oh, I told you about this thing. And I say, did you write it on the calendar? And she says, no. I'm saying, well, if it's not on the calendar, it's, I may have forgotten about it. So I find that keeping schedules, it frees me up mentally. I do the same thing with my phone. I keep my own personal schedule. I keep my phone and my Outlook account. I keep schedules where things I need to remind myself of. It's funny. I had a meeting this morning, and my alarm went off, at 8, and it said, oh, "Don't forget you have this thing to do at 9." Um, and it was fine. I was able to go do that thing. But mentally, remembering times and dates and all that stuff takes up a lot of mental space. So if I can free up some of that mental space by using, some utilities, either a calendar or my phone set reminders, it really does a lot for me. Sometimes I don't remember things until embarrassingly close to the time that I need to do them. But, again, I think that the value is in being able to free up the mental space to focus on other things that I think are important. Um, Finding balance is difficult for a lot of people. I feel like it's I wish I could say, it gets easier or it gets better. Balancing life is always just that. It's a bit of a balancing act, finding out, and it varies, it changes what's important to us at different points in our life, different points in time. Um, it really does. It flexes. For me right now, my family, my work, my physical health are really the kind of the areas that I spend a lot of time in. I used to do a lot more artwork when I was younger, and I had more free time, and I don't have the free time for it now. My family life and my physical fitness are a little bit more important to me than doing artwork as much. So I realize that, and I acknowledge it, and I kind of have to adjust that and say, well, I don't have quite as much time for artwork right now. But knowing, and always kind of assessing and readjusting and say, hey, how's my time being spent right now? Am I happy about this? Is it balanced? Is it reflective of, the things that I think are important? Am I spending too much time doing something that in reality isn't very important to me? And just kind of knowing what that looks like for each person is pretty important. Time batching is another thing. I talked about this in a presentation I gave earlier today. When we are able to put together, batches of activities, if I'm, William says, I've taken art classes and found things I did not know about myself. Yeah, I think you'll find a lot out about yourself. When you when you do some artwork, work on things, you maybe have access to different parts of your brain or different parts that kind of get triggered. But right, with time batching, for me, I use this in terms of, when I am doing grading or I'm responding to emails, instead of going, respond to an email, then grade something, then go have a conversation, and it's kind of a looping thing like that. I try and sit and get a batch of emails sent out so I can go and, say, okay, I'm going to spend 30 minutes and reply to, as many emails as I can do in 30 minutes. And when I'm done, I say, okay, that's over, and hopefully I've gotten everything done, and then I can move on to my next task. And I put all my tasks, because it's physically, on the computer, they're all in one place, so I can sit there and I can say, okay, and I can do all these things, get it all knocked out, and then move on to the next thing. As opposed to, I think, the multitasking, going back and forth, can get hectic and less productive for me. So figuring out ways to batch your activities, pretty useful way to make the best use of your time. The work, play, fit, push model. It sounds like everyone really enjoyed working with these schedules. maybe found themselves a little more active, maybe took better care of themselves, or maybe were at least more aware of their, physical, mental, emotional fitness. I think that that's an area that a lot of times we neglect. So it's easy to yeah, it's okay. Some people don't like the schedule. You don't you don't have to. It's not everyone loves it. It's okay. You don't have to. I don't have a judgment about that. I think that examining things. I like fit and push a lot because I think that without the prompts, it's very difficult to get into um, get fitness into our lives. Without a reminder, without a poke. I know for a lot of people, it's going to the gym, and it's like until that schedule is really deeply ingrained, it's really hard to make that a regular part of your life. And same thing with push. It's like, how am I regularly pushing myself to be better, to do my best, to do above and beyond what's expected of me? Uh, Play, obviously, the course psychology of play. I think everyone has kind of hopefully seen some of the importance in play. It's why we put it on the schedule. We think it's important for everyone to do on a daily basis. And work, obviously, you're here in school, which is work for a lot of people. Plus, people have jobs on top of that. Um, so I hope that the schedule, if nothing else, was enlightening to people, and maybe gave you some perspective about maybe areas of your life you'd like to spend more time on, maybe areas you want to balance a little bit differently. Having a play plan, knowing what the fun things are in life, I feel like it really goes a long way. I don't want to get too far off on an aside because I know we've got a lot more to cover. But knowing that you have something to look forward to is huge. I know for me, I'm really excited. I want to see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I've got it. I'm like, okay, it comes out on the 18th. I'm like, I have that to look forward to. I've got this bright spot in the future for me, which really just kind of makes me happy and keeps me going. I think it's important to plan ahead and say, hey, you know what? We're going to have some fun things in the future, knowing that there's something, fun, exciting to look forward to. Really can make less fun, less exciting stuff go by a little bit faster. So plan ahead for play and for fun. So the myth of multitasking. Yeah, definitely good to be excited about the future. We're going to talk about multitasking. There's a video that I want you all to watch in the materials section. I believe it's just called multitasking. We're going to go through it, and then we're going to go through the slides. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay. So I think everybody should probably be coming back from that. But right, multitasking is one of those things that inevitably we there's this conversation where someone says I'm great at multitasking, which is fine if that works for you. Hats off. If it's working, I'm never gonna say, hey, quit doing the thing that's working for you. What I will say is, if you're trying to multitask and you're finding that you're getting less done, you're not alone. It's a pretty common issue. The idea is we getting a lot of things done all at once, and what we think happens is we're moving quickly and effectively through a bunch of different tasks. But the reality of the situation is, our ideas are just we're switching back and forth as quickly as we can, which because it's happening in our head, we think is fast. But we're just not as effective. It results in potentially lower IQs and lower proficiency. Um, how to overcome that is back to a couple slides before, time batching, which doesn't directly say that, but overcoming it through 20-minute rule. So giving 20 minutes to to a task, spending that much time on getting something done. If you have several things and each one is going to need a good amount of your time, and you need to be or want to be getting them all, having progress on all of them all at once, spend at least 20 minutes on each task. It'll give you enough time so you can kind of get an idea, work through that idea, see where you land on it. Yeah, Ricardo, focusing on one task at a time, exactly. Picking one, going with it for at least 20 minutes, and seeing where you land. After those 20 minutes, you could go work on the next thing. But again, give it 20 minutes and see where you come up. Mindfulness, minding the mind. We're going to go back one more time. I think this is the last video we have for the day, but there's a video called Mindfulness. We're going to watch it and then we're going to go through the slides. I think this is probably one of the things that I think is the most important that we go through. So let's watch the mindfulness video. We'll come back and we'll talk about it. Okay, so I think that we're all just about coming back from that. What are your thoughts on mindfulness? Zach says that was awesome. Not going to disagree with you on that. You've been practicing it your whole life, Robert? Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Wish we all used it. Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be great if we all did. It's interesting, when we think about the way that we move through, the world through what's happening. It's a great way to look at things. Yeah, being in the moment. I feel like so often we're doing something and we're thinking about what's happening, three days from now, or something later on, something that happened, another day. There's a number of sayings and phrasings that basically talk about our worries about the future, or our frustration about the past robs us from the joy of the day, to something to that effect. A lot of them are worded crudely, but you think you all get the idea. Williams says how you treat others, and then thinking about afterwards. Yeah. Um, so right, being in the moment, just kind of being able to stop and enjoy and say, I'm here right now. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I like this, and not thinking about what's going on later on, and not say don't be prepared. But yeah, so self-reflection statements, just kind of acknowledging how you're feeling. Hey, what's going on with me? What's happening? Appreciating the now, and being aware of our surroundings, feelings, and mood. That's one of those things that I think a lot of times we just we say, I feel this way, and I don't know why. But when we stop and we think about it, it's very often do we think, why am I feeling this way? It's just, this is how it is. Robert says you can also do mindfulness without meditation, just doing leisure activities, work too, like playing video games. Sure, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be different for each person. What it looks like is definitely a different experience. Ash says, I actually had a class on mindfulness at work, and a stress class. That's awesome. It's really great that people are kind of going through that, and they've obviously, right. They know it's important, and they want you to know, hey, like, be aware of what's going on, internally, just like mentally, emotionally, what's happening, how are you feeling. It's easy, to get overwhelmed with, feelings, especially if we're, I can think about times I've been frustrated with a situation, or I was mad at somebody, I was younger, or when I'm mad at somebody now, and I'm sitting there and I'm grumbling to myself, and I'm just, kind of losing out on the moment. My shrinks into mindfulness. Yeah, there's something to it, is what I'll say about that. So yeah, everything. Carr says the present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you're attentive, you'll see it. Yeah, I agree. I think that's really important, and I agree with that completely. The anatomy of an emotion, I think, is one of the most important things that we talk about in this class. I learned this. I want to say I was about 19 years old, kind of when I came up, when I got like an introduction to this way of thinking. But it's I'm gonna go through it, and it says there's activating event. Oftentimes it's adversity. So something happens to us. Let's say it's something we don't like. Our friend didn't call us. They went out to the movies with their other friends, and we didn't get invited. We got left out. What we tend to do is we want to make meaning out of our life. So we, in these situations, oftentimes will develop a belief system. a lot of times, these belief systems are, kind of driven by insecurities and things like that. So we'll say, oh, my friends don't like me, and they didn't invite me to this movie because whatever, insert it, some situation which, a lot of times we're insecure. Then we take those, and we believe them. We believe that those things are real, and we act as though the belief system that we just made up is real. And that's the way that it is. And then we start saying, oh, well, my friends must not like me, so I'm going to isolate. I'm not going to call them. I don't want to be around them. I feel left out. Um, we start acting as though this is the reality of our life. It can be a pretty unpleasant spiral to be in. And if it was just A, B, and C, that would be a sad story. And a lot of times, for me, until I figured this out, it was a lot of times it was A, B, and C. Something would happen. I would invent a belief or come up with an idea to explain that, and then I'd act as though my belief was the reality of the situation. What changes is when we get the D and E. So the disputation, challenge the irrational belief that oftentimes I made up. And energization, I'll come after disputing irrational beliefs. So a lot of times, I would say, my example, my friends didn't invite me to the movies, and I said, why didn't they invite me? Well, they didn't invite me because they don't like me, or this or that. And I act like that. When I can dispute that belief and say, you know what, maybe they didn't invite me because they were absent-minded. They're people too. I've forgotten things. They forgot to invite me, or maybe they said, oh, they maybe they thought I was working that night, or maybe I actually go up to them and say, hey, why didn't you guys invite me to this thing? And they'll just be like, oh, any number of things could happen. But until I actually am willing to go address that, I'm only have my own beliefs to go off of. So being able to dispute the kind of irrational beliefs that we've developed, and then come up with a new, energizing, empowering mindset to move forward with. Say, hey, maybe they just, they didn't invite me because they forgot, but they're still my friends and they still want me around, so I'm gonna go keep hanging out with them, and that's how I'm gonna live my life. And when we don't, a lot of times we're making up a story about what somebody else is thinking, and it's tough. It's really tough to kind of go through life that way, but a lot more people do it than you would think. Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up on the chat box. Actually, it sounds like your stress class was interesting. But right. So again, I think that disputing our irrational beliefs will really carry us for days. It's super important. So connecting it all, kind of bringing it all back together, practicing mindfulness, um, staying in the moment, knowing, kind of moving, being with our task at any given time. It will help us avoid multitasking, and hopefully we'll develop some awareness of our emotions. We sit in the moment and we move through, each step of the day, without thinking about, what's next, what's to come, what's happening after work, this, that, and the other. Being able to develop that and make a habit out of it, and make that be a regular practice, it goes a long way. But it takes practice. That's kind of the thing. You have to work on mindfulness regularly, but staying in the moment, I think it's one of the things that when we are willing to give it a shot, we find we get a lot more out of each of our interactions that we have, and we end up with a much fuller, richer life. So give it a shot. Worst thing that happens is you don't like the results, and you can go back to doing what you were doing before. But the best thing that happens is you have a richer, fuller life. So that's basically what we have to say on that. Does anyone have any questions about this or about anything else from class? Nope. Okay, well, if you do, feel free to jump in. I'm happy to answer them. Zach, you're good. Okay, well, that's it for me today. I don't have anything else we need to cover. I know we're a little bit early. Oh, right, what's the why video? It's the Golden Circle video with Simon Sinek. Yeah, thanks, Jacob, for being here. You feel free to watch it, Robert, if you want. It's in your readings for the week. If you missed any of the go-to training, I'm going to post this up in the archive here shortly. Jenna, thanks for being here. It was great having you participating. When will the recording be ready? Shortly. Hey, Samantha, I'm glad I was able to be informative. Yeah. Thanks everybody for being here. You are all fantastic. Yeah, Robert, if you missed the first 15 minutes, don't worry. I'm going to post the video. I'll probably have it up within 20 or 30 minutes. It's been good having everybody in here. No need to apologize, Zach. It was great, good having you here. The video covers the reading. No, I would not say that. The video is not in lieu of the reading. You should watch the video and do the reading. Sean, it was great having you here. Hey, thanks, William. Yeah, Kimberly, thank you. Thanks everybody for the kind words. It was really great having you all here. You're all free to go if there's nothing else. Yeah, sometimes there's pauses I have. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here. Hey, can't wait for you to be here physically on campus. Yeah, we'd love that. You all take it easy. If you have anything you want to stick around for and ask, feel free to. I'll be here. Otherwise, yeah, you're all free to go. And I hope you've enjoyed your class. Yeah. Awesome, Ricardo. Thanks. Hey, maybe we will see you around. I would be optimistic about that. Thanks, Ricardo. Appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Brianna. I appreciate it. Thanks. Take care. Yep. Have a good week.